have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business? Here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.
Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, ET Now special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to all your questions directly from our experts. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and this show aims to bring you the most relevant and updated information on everything related to your businesses. On the show today, we're talking about the opportunities and challenges for companies when they're working with millennials and what you should know as an MSME entrepreneur if you employ such younger employees at your organizations. And it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce this panel today. Let me start with Basuri Datta. She's the practice head at the Great Place to Work. I have V. Balakrishnan. He's the chairman of Xfinity Ventures. He's also, of course, used to very closely overlook the BPO practice as well as the CFO role at Infosys till recently. And I also have Neha Sethi of the Swedish House Mafia. We've had you here previously on our show, and it's great to have a young entrepreneur to talk about your experiences. Thank you all very much for being with us here tonight. We've got a whole bunch of questions from our viewers who've written in on different aspects of working with millennials. And the first one is coming to us, in fact, from Rahul Khanna. If we can pull that up, this is an email that's come to us on leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com. He's written in to us to say that most of his young employees lack loyalty towards the company and attrition rates are high. Rahul has written in to ask us what's the best way to ensure they identify the values of the company. And Basuri, maybe I can ask you to come in on this. There's a perceived lack of loyalty that companies are clearly facing when it comes to working with a younger set of employees. And what would your advice be, particularly to Rahul, in terms of how they can really work around these issues?
I think there are organizations that we have studied in our national studies research that we do, where we've seen organizations which are in the MSME category also have done this piece very well, where they have been able to hire, right and retain. And how they have done it, some of the things that we observe is that they've been able to create the right kind of cohorts. So for example, when they go out and hire, what kind of cultural lens do they use to hire the kind of people who would perhaps have a lot of commonality among them, who would like each other's company, have the same kind of aspirations, come with the same kind of mindset in terms of things that they want to create, new horizons that they want to touch. And that only can happen when you are very clear of what is the value proposition that you have for your people.
Sure. Bala, I want to bring you in at this point and ask you to, also respond to Rahul. What lessons in your mind can MSMEs learn from larger companies when it comes to issues like, say, loyalty or culture?
See, they have to understand that the millennial employees are restless, they are very ambitious, they are very globally in thinking. They want to move up the ladder much faster in the organization. So I think you need a different set of perspective in handling the millennial employees. The first and foremost is the way the leaders of the companies behave themselves in the public space, because ultimately everybody wants to work in a company which is most respected, where the leaders are respected, where the corporate is respected. So when you go to your family circle, friend circle, when you say, I work for so and so company, there is a lot of respect. So that is most important if you have to attract good talent. The branding of the company, the branding of the leaders, how they conduct themselves in the public space, that is more important. Second, I think engagement. I don't think employees leave companies, they leave managers. You need constant engagement with employees, tell them what they are doing wrong, what they are doing right, mentor them, give them a growth path, and help them to scale up within the organization. That is much more important. Of course, third is learning, because learning is very important. if you give a great working atmosphere, if you help them to learn faster, if you help them to move up faster within the organization, I think that is a big motivation for employees to stay. Of course, the compensation plays a larger role, but I think if you are having all these four, you can to some extent minimize the impact of compensation on employees' urge to leave the company. So, I think as an organization, culture is very important, learning environment is very important, mentoring is very important, and of course, salaries also plays a larger role in retaining the employee.
Let's take in our next query, and this is coming to us on social media. Do stay tuned. I'll tell you how you can reach us on Twitter. This one is coming to us from Akshay Arora. He says he's 25 years old, has been working for a reputed IT company for about 2 years now, but says he wants to go abroad and study. His query to us is that there is no provision of sabbatical in his company, but he wants to grow within the company. At the same time, he says he wants to improve his educational prospects and the education that he has right now. He's tweeted at us to ask us what really he should do. It's a bit of a dilemma, and as a young entrepreneur, and I presume having a team which is also really young given the nature of the industry that you're in, do you face these issues, and what would your advice be?
So to begin with, maybe we should address what the company itself would do in a situation like this, because we're talking about retaining millennials. There are companies out there who sponsor their employees actually going for the higher education and guaranteeing them a spot once they come back, because the millennials do have the talent, they do have the drive, they do have the determination. So you wouldn't want to lose them just because they want to pursue a higher education, which is even good for the company in the long run. So in terms of the company, I would think that they would do that, but in his case, since they don't do that, I would suggest maybe talking to someone higher up in the company if he's close to them, explaining to them that he doesn't want to continue within the company and maybe in a different department. So if he spoke to them, it should be helpful in that sense. But otherwise, even if it doesn't work out, I think a higher education at this point is very important as a stepping stone going forward in his life, in his career. Because if this company is already not that flexible in terms of guaranteeing him a spot once he comes back, he doesn't even know what his prospects are in the future, in the company in the future. So I think it would probably be a good idea maybe to pursue his education and look out for something that would be a better fit for him and for millennials in general, because we do seem to be a little bit more restless isn't the right word, but a little bit
wanting things to move more quickly.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Would you agree with that, and what advice would you have, Akshay?
Agree to a certain extent that millennials need things at a faster pace, yes. But having said that, our research also tells us that what millennials aspire for and look for in their careers is not vastly different from what many other the baby boomers or the Gen X employees want or need or aspire for. For example, all generations equally want fairness at the workplace. Everybody wants respect at the workplace. Everybody wants the management or the leaders to be credible in the organization. But yes, the manifestation of all this and the way things are done may differ from generation to generation, and of course for millennials it has to be at a slightly faster pace. But having said that, there are organizations that today have things like hibernation leave. So there are organizations that actually give education leave to their employees. They call it hibernation leave because this is a time when you want to just take time out, do something towards your self-development. When you come back, there are also organizations that would, as Neha was saying, would fund your education in form of a loan, and in case you come back and join them, that loan is partly waived.
Okay, hibernation sounds very misleading and very fascinating at the same time. Yes. Just to counter the point that you've made, Basuri, and Bala, I want to bring you in on this. A recent study by Deloitte says that 2/3 of millennials express the desire to leave the organization by 2020. How do you suggest then that with this kind of a mindset or this kind of a thought process among millennials, how do companies go about meeting their aspirations and at the same time managing their businesses?
No, I think that is a wish list of the millennials. because they don't think their current jobs exciting. Probably they don't think the company is giving them enough learning environment for them to learn and move up. So any employee, if they have to work in the organization, they want them to be respected, they want them to be wanted within the organization. So you have to do as an organization multiple things to hold them together within the organization. Give them feedback, give them a learning program, give them a growth path within the organization, mentor them, and make sure that there is mutual respect between employees and the management. And visibility and proximity of leaders are very important. So as an organization, you have to do a combination of all this. Make sure that employees feel that they are very important for the organization, and feel that it is their own company. Unless you create a kind of belonging to the company, you are going to face this problem, whether it's millennials or somebody else.
Let's think about that for a moment while we take a quick break, but we'll continue taking in all of your queries on the other side. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're talking about millennials and what you, the MSME entrepreneur, should keep in mind when engaging with such a workforce. Let's take in our next query. This is coming to us again through email. Jyoti Kashyap, who's written in to us, says she's a millennial by definition and a fresher in the industry. She says she works for a large organization. Her dilemma is twofold. She says she doesn't think that the pay package offered is very competitive for surviving in a large metro city. The second issue, she says, is that it's a very closed work culture. She doesn't find many opportunities at work to learn and grow positively. How can this dilemma be resolved? And also perhaps at this point we can talk about what Indian MSMEs, Indian companies can learn from their global peers, and what employees can also be learning from their global peers. I'd like Neha and Bala both to take a stab at it. So Bala, maybe I can ask you to start.
I think MSMEs should give more importance to learning for innovation, because if employees see a great learning environment, the probability of them staying in the organization for long is much higher. And second, I think compensation is important. So also a kind of a belonging and ownership is very important. So if a company can structure a good ESOP plan where they make the employees as owners of the company, I think that will be a big motivation for employees to stay in the organization. And third, I think you have to be in the leading edge of the technology, and if you do that, the ability of employees to learn the latest technologies is much higher. So probably the probability of them staying longer within the organization will be much higher. And fourth, I think proximity to the leaders, proximity to the management, getting constant feedback, getting constant mentorship will create an overall feeling of belonging to the company. I think there are a lot of best practices which global players practice, and if you can combine all that and create an overall feeling of belonging to the company and ownership to the company, I think that will make a large difference.
Okay. Neha, as part of your first job, you lived in New York, you were an investment banker. So, any lessons there that you can give Jyoti?
So, I would have to say that while we were in New York, we did have a lot of, every week we had an event where we were mixing with our other peers, with our seniors. So that made us feel, because she's having an issue of being in a closed environment, that helped in us connecting to our bosses, our superiors. So that definitely helped in getting a sense of, the culture of the company and feeling a little bit more involved. In terms of the compensation, I know she feels that maybe it's not enough in living in a big metro like this, but I guess what she would have to do, or what the organization itself would have to do, is maybe give its young employees some perks that would entice them and encourage them to stay on in the job. Not anything major, maybe not a salary bump, but something, let them take control of their, minor expenses. There are some organizations which don't even look at the expenses that their employees are doing, but just tell them be responsible and do what's best for the company. So something like that, or even offering lunch is something that organizations do. So some small steps like that would make her feel that even if the compensation package is a little small, it is fine, and I can manage with that in a big city.
Jyoti, that's in response to your question. Let's take in the next one coming to us from Karan Biswas. He's written to us on Twitter, says that he's an MSME in the retail space, and that most of his employees, while they're young and dynamic, are also extremely ambitious. He says that in his case, he's seen that some of the best recruits are going to competition for better positions, remunerations, perks, etc. He's written in to us to say what's the best way to retain younger employees. So while we've been talking about hiring of talent, for example, a big part of it is also retaining the talent that you have. And Basri, what advice would you have?
Okay, so 2-3 things that come to my mind. Firstly, there's an increasing trend in really some great organizations that have created great workplaces for their employees, is to not really focus on the exit, so you do exit interviews. In place of that, what these organizations have started is that they've started doing stay interviews. So they earmark the employees that they really want to retain, the talent, young buzzing talent that they really want to retain, and they do structured periodical stay interviews with them to understand what is it that motivates them, what is it that will compel them to leave, and is it possible to therefore create a value proposition for these young dynamic employees that they want to retain. So that is one. Two, today's youth or millennial is also socially very conscientious. They are very conscientious of the fact that they have a responsibility to society. They want to do something to contribute to the community that they are operating in. And so therefore, if there are opportunities that the MSMEs create in terms of, it could be volunteering on some social project or making an impact outside of work, that is also something that will create that sense of working or being a part of an enterprise that cares enough to contribute to society. The third thing is communication, and that's something that we've seen which works very well when you have an open MIS, for example. There are organizations which follow the 95-95-95 principle, which means that 95% of the time, 95% of the people should have access to 95% of the information that's flowing in the organization. There are mechanisms that exist today in organizations where you have open houses, you have all hands meet, you can connect using the internet technology, whatever social media that you have, to have a very healthy discourse in the organization. There are organizations that have created those platforms where employees can ask reasonable questions to the leaders and get straight answers. While people ask those questions, everybody else is able to view those questions and vote. So at the end of certain period of time, you, in the popular wisdom of the organization or in the collective wisdom of all employees, there are those 3, 4, 5 issues that need to be addressed by the leadership. That creates over a period of time a sense that everybody has a part to play and everybody is involved in some of the most important discourse that's happening in the organization, and they are able to ask direct questions to their leaders and get straight answers from them, and thereby also influence some of the key decisions that are going to be taken in the business.
So Bala, retaining talent, hiring talent is something that you worked with very closely, and I want to ask you to respond in this query as well. What would you suggest maybe in terms of the top 2 or 3 things that companies should definitely do when it comes to retaining talent?
I think this is a challenge for all organizations because the aspirations are very high, they're very ambitious. So you have to figure out who are the most critical talent which an organization should retain and spend enough time with them to figure out what are their needs, how do you can address that, what are the pain points. Work-life balance is very important. So you have to put enough resources to figure out what they need and make sure you do everything to retain them. There will always be a set of people who will leave anyway, whatever you do. So I think the critical employees are very important. That is where you have to focus to retain them.
All right, Bala, Basuri, Neha, thank you very much for coming down tonight. A lot of other queries which have come in, which we unfortunately don't have the time for. But do remember that if you want your company to be featured on our show, you can get in touch with us. If you have any query related to your business, do write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can personally tweet at me at Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on that number that you see flashing on your screens, and we promise to have all of your queries answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
If you feel you have what it takes to be awarded as the best in the business, here is your chance to apply. Head on over to our website, download the form and apply. If you face any troubles when applying or feel the need to get in touch with us directly, email us, call us, tweet at me directly at Sunanda_J or join our Facebook group.